wait to welcome Genevieve. Hello, Genevieve. How are you?
Hello, Trina, and hello, ladies. Hello, everyone. Lovely to be back. Really is. And that welcome, I don't know what you said. I was lovely and delightful and powerful and something. And I thought, well, yeah, I like all those words. It's a lovely, natural and heartfelt way to introduce me. So, yeah, lovely to be here.
Well, it's so good to have you. And I'm so excited about having you here because this is an incredible. Listen, I came across your new book. You have a lovely newsletter. I just want to tell anybody who is not aware of this newsletter that you have a lovely newsletter that you send out to everybody about once a week.
Once a week, yeah.
And it's all about sort of magic and magical elements. And you see, our motto here in this group is living magically every day. And when we come across someone like you just open up doors to us and new avenues for us to explore. And so it's delightful to get your email. So if anybody is interested, please look at www.becomingmagic.com and sign up for Genevieve's newsletter. It's really lovely. But in one of those, you introduced us all to your new book, Feasting on Magic. A hero's journey into. I'll let you finish that.
No, you're awesome. The awful thing is, Trina, I changed that subtitle so many times, and now I'm not sure which one we've stuck with. The hero's journey to ending diets forever.
Forever. Oh
like
yeah.
That.
Oh, that is really so good. Ending diets forever. And look, in it, because I love the idea of audiobooks. And so when I'm taking my walks in the morning, I have the fabulous company of many wonderful women. But I have been having your company for the last week or so, listening to this beautiful book on audio. And oh my goodness, I'm blown away. I don't want to give anything away, but I promise any of you out there, when you read this book, you will see the whole area of food and weight and personal power and all sorts of things in a completely different way. So this idea of feasting on magic is just joyous. And I want people to hear this. But what I love most is in your other books, you talk about a pivotal moment in your life when there was no other way. There was just a change, a complete and utter change in the way that you look at something. And that's the magic element. You did it again. And you tell us about that at the beginning of the book, don't you?
I do. Because what had happened was, I've been working with magic for over 10 years now and, become quite good at it, wrote all these books, run courses. And there was a point when it became very obvious to me that there was one area of my life where that wasn't the case, where I wasn't using much magic, and that was with my weight. And I was just like probably some of your listeners. I was a yo-yo dieter. I jumped from one diet to another, to another, to another. I did every single diet. In fact, if I heard about a new diet, it would be, my ears would prick up and I would rush out and buy it, get all excited about a new diet. And I'd do it for a few weeks and I'd lose a bit of weight and then I'd get bored and I'd jump from one diet to another. And I basically I was pretty much obsessed, I would say, with dieting, weight loss, weight issues. And I have been probably since, I think in the book, I worked out the exact time, but I think I was about age 10 when I first went on a diet. Can you believe that? And I know some people here probably have a similar story. 10 years old. And I wasn't even a fat kid. I was not an overweight child. But I was brought up around, my mother was always on a diet. My aunties were all on diets. Everybody was on a diet. And it just became such a part of my life for so long. It didn't cross my mind there was another way to do things. And it was, there was a particular day, it was in June was it 20, now maybe you can remember the year, was it 2021? Or 20,
yes.
Yeah, 2021, that was right. It was after lockdown and I'd put on weight over lockdown and I had tried one diet after another. I'd started off doing veganism, that didn't work. And then I went on to keto, that didn't work. Then I started intermittent fasting. And it got to the stage where I was literally doing a ketogenic diet and I was doing intermittent fasting. I was eating something like 3 or 4 meals a week at that point. And my weight loss just stopped. It was just stopped. And I think that was the point where I'd had enough. I suddenly realized I'm in my 50s, and I've been doing this for decades, decades and decades of dieting, and nothing's changing. It's not
And
changing.
you mentioned that's the thing I think many of us could identify
Yeah,
with you in, that you put up, let's face it, about a stone a decade is what was one of the
yeah,
things you said. Look, so many of us tick that box. We all
yeah.
see that happening. And there comes a point, and there came a point for you in 2021 when you really wanted to see what was going on here.
Really, because we have to get out of this idea that somehow another diet is going to be the answer. And I ask you all, if you're one of these people who's been a yo-yo dieter your whole life, look at the results. How has it worked? Our diet's working. It hasn't worked.
Mm.
My mother is pushing 80. My mother-in-law is 83, 84. They're both still on diets. Can you believe this? They're both still on diets at the age of 80. And at some point, we need to accept that this isn't working. There has to be another way. Diets simply don't work, not because you haven't found the right one, but because diets fundamentally don't work.
Uh-huh.
And this was the big insight I had that day. The insight was that I realized that in all of my life, I was taking responsibility. I was stepping into my own power. I was looking for the answers within myself. I was trusting my own wisdom, all the things I'm sure your followers know about and are used to doing. But I wasn't doing it with food. With food, I was looking to everyone else to give me the answer. Dietitians, doctors, health experts, fitness experts. I was looking for them to give me the answer. And that's when it all started to click. Oh my God, the answers are within me. I can do this myself. I can do this myself, just like I did with everything else in my life. The answers are within me. And it's the same for all of you lot. The answer to your weight issues are within you. They don't come from elsewhere.
Mhm. And it's not surprising that we think it does come from elsewhere. Isn't that true, Genevieve? Because from the time we're very small, there are sort of experts in food, which is something that we eat three meals a day, perhaps maybe two for some.
Yeah.
Something we've done all our lives is eat food. Because it's a necessity apart from a pleasure, and you have a lot more to say about that as well. Um, but somehow we have handed complete uh, expert uh, status over to others. We're not. We feel the least sort of
Yeah.
knowledgeable and understanding of what we're supposed to be eating. Isn't that true?
Isn't it? And think about how crazy that sounds. But this
Mm.
is eating. There probably isn't a more fundamental sort of human activity than eating. That's what keeps us alive. A baby knows how to eat, and every animal on the planet knows how to eat. But we somehow don't know how to eat without asking experts. What a healthy diet? What counts as a healthy diet? If you put that into Google, what counts as a healthy diet? There's like a billion trillion results, and everybody's got a different opinion, and
Yeah.
it's not really surprising. So I suddenly realized that, oh, this is madness. We're talking about eating. It's like being told we need to have, I say this in the book, like as if we need instructions on how to walk or something. Like we're all walking wrong. We're all doing this wrong. We're all thing. And the awful thing is this is in every other area of life too, because we do get advice on how to think and how to do this and how to walk and how to breathe and how to, there are experts supposedly for everything. And I'm just asking people to consider the possibility that there is no such thing as an expert. The only expert on your life is you, literally the only one. The only person who can have an expert opinion on your life, every aspect of it, is you.
Yeah. And you do say, I mean, all of the factors that we have to take into account. For example, people have allergies or food
Yeah.
intolerances or a condition or other, or whatever it is, a hormone, a thyroid, underactive thyroid,
Yeah.
whatever, which affects our body. Yet all of those diets actually are written for everybody
Yeah.
to do. So not all of them can work for everyone in the first place. So how many years be spent going through all
Mm,
of those available diets to try and find one that's actually going to suit our own
absolutely.
body type, I suppose, or even needs or nutritional
Mm.
requirements, or our what is it, our metabolism or whatever. And you're saying that rather than going on that journey, there's a whole other journey we could actually be going on.
Yeah. The much simpler journey is just to use yourself and your own experience, your own personal experience as the guide. That's your yardstick. It's so simple to do. And it's just, I guide you through a process of tuning. I mean, this sounds like lots of cliches, but tuning into your body and feeling the way it reacts, a different way of eating. And one of the, one of the first things I advise everyone do is to just throw away every single diet and every bit of advice they've ever heard and start from scratch. And that means eating whatever the hell you like. You have to start by eating whatever you like with no restriction whatsoever. Unless you know, for example, that you're allergic to something or you're intolerant to something. But otherwise, eat what you like, because it's the only way you're going to start tuning into your body and really working out what actually works, what actually fits, what actually is good for you. And you might surprise yourself. I've discovered lots and lots of interesting things about myself through this process. So eat what you like, eat as much as you like, um, and start tuning into the way your body reacts to certain foods. And it's a lot more fun than it sounds there, but it's a fun process. And what the astonishing thing that happens is, rather than stuffing your face on cakes and crisps and junk and getting fat, you discover that you work out what you actually like, how much you actually like, what works for your body, and you discover that you enjoy your food way more. I enjoy my food way more, even though I actually eat probably less than I used to eat. It's very, very strange.
Well, your enjoyment level has gone up,
Enjoyment
and
level
you
goes up
have.
massively. Mm.
Yeah, and there is a, I mean, without giving away too much about in the book, because I do believe there's a real point at which it actually reaches deep inside you and you suddenly see something in a way you've never seen before. And I don't necessarily want to give that away, but that's one of the secrets, is that the enjoyment level increases, even if the amount of food
Yeah,
decreases, because you, as you quite rightly say, when you're on a diet, the first thing to go is pleasure. In
yeah,
fact, your mindset goes straight to denial. I can't have that. I mustn't have that for the next 6 weeks, 8 months, or whatever it is. I'm not going to be able to do that because I have to follow this
yeah.
diet. But even in the very act of giving up that pleasure, or feeling that sense of denial, even if the food is good, even if it tastes relatively well,
Yeah.
this still being eaten with a sense of denial. That in itself is something which will prevent that diet from working.
It does, because that basically, that sense of denial, that sense of restriction, that deprivation, it blocks the enjoyment for a start. So you don't get as much enjoyment out of the food, which is why we kind of get very bored with diet food. Even though it fills us up, it doesn't hit the spot. And that sense of denial seems to, it's almost like it masks you to your true wisdom, your true intuition about food, the intuition that tells you, I like this food, or I've had enough to eat, and I'm full, and all these natural signals, they get blocked by this sense of, I need to eat this much food, and I need to stick to this diet, and I must cut out that, and I've got to count up my I don't know, my units and not go over them, and all of that is in the way of your natural intuition about food and your natural enjoyment about food. So what happens when you follow the plan and really stick to it, and it really resonates for you like it has for you, Trina, is you'll almost certainly end up eating less food, but not because you're restricting yourself in any way. In fact, it's essential you don't restrict your food. What ends up happening is you eat less food because you're just satisfied, because you've eaten such delicious food and you've had a nice belly full of it that you have no desire to eat anymore. And it's that mechanism that's that's the real incredible revelation that I got from this, was that, my God, I'm enjoying my food more, and I'm letting myself eat whatever I want, and I'm losing weight. This is like a miracle. This is like the Holy Grail. This is just
It's magic.
it's magic. It really is like magic. Yeah.
You gave the example of your friends, two male friends of yours, who go on a mung bean diet
Yeah.
from time to time. And I thought that was really funny because, as you say, the mung bean contains everything you need to survive. They really don't need any other food other
Yeah.
than this. And they're supposed to be on it for a number of weeks, but after
But
about
they only do it for 2 weeks because they can't stand it any longer than that. Yeah.
there you go. And so there we are. It's not the idea that their belly is full. It's not that they're getting the requirement, the nutritional requirement they need. The other element, the other important element to maintaining something is the joy you have in food. And I wonder, can I ask you, Genevieve, are there ways of living today that actually ruin that? For example, a lot of people, most people will go shopping, say once a week or even less than that in some cases, stock up, put it in the freezer. Some people are great. They'll even prepare their food. So you've got frozen meals in the fridge. But in doing that, do we remove the intuitive kind of exploring our taste? Because it would come to a Monday, and on Mondays we have whatever's in there we've bought. Tuesdays we have something else. Wednesday, and we're not actually questioning ourselves. We're simply going and automatically eating and eating as much as we've prepared for ourselves. Is there another way of how we choose to shop for our foods or choose our particular menus?
I mean, ideally, I suppose every single meal, you would go out to a lovely farmer's market, have a nice idea, get completely fresh food, come back, chop it all up, spend all afternoon cooking it, and make whatever you wanted in that moment. Make it as completely delicious as possible. Sit down, make it a total event, and enjoy everything. That would be the ideal. But of course, no one has time for that. So what I say is that make it as much of an event as you can. You know, try to cook as much as you can. Try to plan your meals as much as you can. Try to sit down and enjoy them as much as you can. Just add a little bit more of rather than just thinking, I'm in a rush, I'm going to grab a sandwich, munch, get on with your work. Actually sit down and enjoy, get more enjoyment out of the food that you do eat. Because by getting more enjoyment out of the food you do eat, you eat less of it without trying. You eat less of it without trying. And you're also more likely then to get the nutritional elements that you need for you, because you've actually allowed your inner wisdom to dictate that. So if your inner wisdom is saying, you know what, I feel like I need some meat today, you'll cook some meat. If it feels like, God, I feel like a nice salad, I feel like I want something fresh, then you'll eat something like that. And you get better and better and better at tuning in to this little voice that tells you exactly what you want to eat. And you'll be very surprised that if you're into junk food at the moment, that might well go out the window.
Yes.
You discover very strangely how rotten a lot of that junk food genuinely tastes and how yucky it makes your body feel. I'm not saying don't ever eat it again, because I sometimes still, I like fish and chips. I like some things, but it's when you tune into your body, it's incredible how much your tastes change.
Yes, and you may even have more enjoyment out of preparing something, if not similar. I mean, my husband makes a gorgeous, it's a crispy chicken dish done in a big skillet pan. And honestly, when I'm eating that, I'm just thinking, gosh, I mean, I used to love, I won't name any names, but there was a particular fried chicken burger or what would we say, fillet, that I used to particularly love. But this is so much more delicious. And and you can make and buy some, if you must, free range chicken or whatever else, and you're adding to the benefit of it, or at least you feel
absolutely. I used to similarly have a penchant for that particular type of fried chicken, I think, that you're talking about as well. But not anymore. I couldn't even think about eating that now. It doesn't taste like food to me anymore. It sounds like I'm being all sort of clever and magnanimous, but it's not like that at all. It's just your tastes change. You realize what tastes good, what tastes like food, and how much of what you've been eating before you're eating because it was quick and it was kind of tasty and it was salty and it was there and it was super easy. And when you're no longer eating just because it's easy and it's there, you realize how much enjoyment there is to be had out of other types of food that are healthy foods that actually taste fabulous, really fabulous. Yeah.
Well, you have actually done a clever thing with your program, and it works because you have a number of people who've already been
Yeah, loads.
working, your clients
Mm.
who work through that program with you. So you've broken it down into a number of sort of modules, and
Yeah,
you ask people to give it 60 days. And
yeah,
that's you're saying just keep an open mind and go on the hero's journey, this
yeah,
adventure over 60 days. And of course, the hero's journey is about making discoveries about yourself, and
absolutely.
not just sort of all the nice things. You discover, how resilient and capable, and areas of yourself you didn't know you had, which is the whole point in this. So how do you like, how do you like to see the process go through? If you have a client and they come to you and they say to you, I've really struggled for the last 20 years, 10
Yeah.
years, however long, and they set out, what would be the first thing you say to them?
Well, the first of all, I would say to them, commit to the 60 days. The reason for that is because this is not a fast weight loss diet at all. This is about making a complete change in you, a change in the whole understanding, the whole way you relate to food. That doesn't happen overnight. Yes, there's often a click that will happen in your understanding when you'll suddenly go, I get what I've been doing wrong. I see this now. I see what I've been doing. And that's what I really want to happen. That's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm hoping that as somebody reads and actually goes through the experience of doing the things I'm talking about, that they'll start to get those insights, those aha moments. They'll go, oh, I hadn't noticed that before. Oh, I didn't realize I did that. Well, that's really interesting. I wasn't expecting that. And it'll be different for everyone. That's where the 60 days comes in, because it's in the process of doing this, not just in the reading of it. It's in the process of doing it where the greatest insights will come, and they'll be different for everyone. And this is not, even though I have an actual program, with steps and instructions, it's like everything else I teach. It's not sticking rigidly to those instructions that's going to make the magic happen. It's taking those into your life and seeing how they play out. Can you see the difference of what I'm saying there? It's not sticking resolutely to this. It's because then it's almost like you're giving your power away to the instructions,
Yes.
rather
Yeah.
than taking it on board.
It's immersive, it's experiential.
Yes,
You are an
totally.
observer while you're also taking part in the whole thing.
Yeah,
It just seems like a very much more empowering way, Genevieve. And actually, that's what all of your work is about, really, isn't it? Because you have,
100%,
yeah,
100%.
you have the
Yeah,
Academy of Magic. I love the title of this. And in that, there's a whole group of programs. You have all of your books, which are the Becoming Magic series of books. And I just want to say to anybody that Genevieve's book is Feasting on Magic. If you're buying that from Ireland on Amazon, you will get the Kindle and you will get the Audible immediately. But it's saying on Amazon that it's not available. This happened with a couple of books that we've previously covered, but it is available in amazon.de. That is the German outlet, and you will still get it in 48 hours or whatever. So for some reason, I don't know what's changed, Genevieve, but I just feel that if you're looking for it in Ireland, go get the Kindle, get the Audible. You can do that in the .co.uk. If you want the hardback book or the hard copy, you go to amazon.de. That's the German site. It's in English, it's not German, and you get the book that way. So look, I want to just, if it's okay with you, I mean,
yeah.
what else would you like to share about that, or would you like to
Well,
talk a
I
little
think
more?
there's probably, I mean, one more thing I would say about the feasting on magic is the things we've talked about so far are very kind of that's sort of the more practical side of things. It's almost like the sort of action steps you need to take to
Go through the
but there's
program.
another side of this whole program that we haven't talked about, which is about really going deep and discovering that intuition. Because I know a lot of people on the call will probably be thinking, well, I don't have any intuition about food. I don't know what I should be eating. I just, I have no control over food. I eat too much. I comfort eat. And what do I do when all I want to do on a Friday night is get a takeaway and eat it? I do it every week and I love it. And what am I supposed to do about this? And a big part of the program, in fact, probably the biggest part of the program, is about a process I've devised for actually really drilling deep down into your own intuition about food and discovering the reasons. And the way we do this is by discovering the reasons why we do comfort eat. And pretty much all of us do it to a certain extent. We comfort eat. We comfort eat. We eat because we're sad, or we eat because we're happy, or we eat because we're bored, or we eat as a mere distraction. And the reason we do this is always because we are we're actually seeking for something, or we're trying to cover up an uncomfortable emotion that we don't want to feel. And what I've devised is a mechanism, a process that allows you to really go into these uncomfortable feelings, discover what they're about, and basically evaporate them. When you get down into the feelings that are underneath the reasons you overeat, everything will transform for you. And we're not just talking about food, we're talking about all sorts of other areas of your life as well. So I call this a hero's journey because this is not just about food. This process will allow you to discover all sorts of things about yourself that will empower you in all sorts of incredible ways. So if you're listening to me and thinking that's all very well and good, but I'm such a terrible comfort eater, I'm never going to be able to stick to something like that, don't worry. I've got you covered. I've really got you covered.
You really, really do.
Yeah.
And that comes through very, very, very clearly. That's probably one of the things that absolutely, I just said, oh my gosh, I've never heard this before. And I'm 63 years of age. I've never saw it from this particular point of view. I've never understood my eating. I mean, you do say something. You say that, in all cultures, food is not only about eating enough nutrients in order to survive, because we can do that and we can eat the mung beans if that's what we're looking
Yeah.
for. But every culture has a joy, a celebratory essence to it. There, as you say, that you mark this sort of year, the
Yeah.
feasts and celebrations throughout the year, our birthdays, all of these other things. Generally, if you meet a friend, even now, it's about a cup of coffee and a slice of cake, or a glass of wine and the bag of nuts if it has to be. But it's always about celebrating something in some way. So there's much, much more to our desire for breaking bread and sharing food than just filling up on the nutrients. And when you explain that in your book, it is probably one of the deepest aha moments I've had in a very long time, because as you quite rightly say, it's one of the most important things we do is eat.
It is.
And
It's the one thing, it's sorry, Trina, to interrupt you there. It's the one thing that all the diet books leave out. They don't address that. What's addressed is a diet is designed to give you the right nutrition, whatever that is, and to fill you up. So the question is always, are you hungry? How to cope with hunger pangs, and how to, there's this idea of a hunger scale and rating your hunger and not overeating. It's all about hunger, hunger, hunger. But that's not the only reason we eat. We just don't only eat for hunger. Nobody does. If we did, we'd all live on mung beans because that's cheap and easy. We can keep them in the cupboard. We could just live on mung beans. We'd all be perfectly healthy, but we don't, because we can't stand that. We have to have food that we enjoy. It has to be food we really, really enjoy. And if we're having food that we don't really enjoy because we're following someone else's rules, we are cutting off that connection to intuition. We're cutting off our own wisdom about what we should be eating. So that's the first rule that has to go. You have to eat food that's delicious. You have to eat yummy stuff for this.
absolutely.
How good is that? That you have to eat yummy food for the whole plan to work.
I like the idea of that. I think that's really wonderful. And there was another point you made there. And when it comes back to me, I'll come back to you, because so a number of the factors in the book is not just about, as you say, it's not a diet book, it's not a cookbook, it's not a recipe book, it's not going to tell you what the right diet is. I mean, you've been through them all, none of them work. It's about showing people that they actually taking back your power, making decisions for yourself. I mean, one of the things you say is if diets worked, then you never need another thing. But that's part of the hook, isn't it? Because when you think, well, I will only be able to achieve the weight or the figure or the whatever else I want if I follow this diet. And of course, it will work for a few weeks and you think it's good. And when after a while it stops working, you blame yourself. You
Yeah.
feel it's my fault this is not working because this diet has said that I need to follow this way. But because I got bored, or I went out and I bought a burger or two, I ruined it, and that's why it didn't
Yeah.
work. So on you go for another while till you find another diet and you go, well, this one will work, and I'll behave myself and I'll follow through on it. And that's the vicious circle, isn't it?
Yeah.
Constantly blaming ourselves for not working, for not making it work. But part of this, the very essence of what you're doing, is saying it's not you. It's far
No,
from
it's
you.
not.
It's actually the fact that you've handed over your power elsewhere.
Yeah, it is.
And that's the point. That's the whole thing. It's the struggle that has caused the issue.
Yes, it's the
All
diet. It's the fact there's a diet at all. It's not you. It's not that you're too weak or your character's flawed or something like that. It's nothing to do with that. I mean, all sorts of people struggle with their weight. My mother's a very intelligent, educated woman, 80 years old and still going on diets. Ridiculous. You know, I'm a successful, educated person, but I couldn't stick to a diet. Is that because I have a character flaw, or because I'm too weak-willed, or because, you know, I have no willpower, or I'm not a worthwhile human being? This is nonsense. But this is what we're encouraged to think, is that it's our fault. If only I was stronger. If only I could have had the strength.
yes.
And I'm saying, no, actually, that's not the reason you went off the diet, is because your body was telling you, get off this stupid diet. This isn't right for you. This is not the way you're supposed to be eating. That's why it's telling you to get off the diet.
And it's not only your body, Genevieve, is it? There's so much more to that. It's not only your body that's telling you get off this diet. As you say, okay, it's your intuition, but it's body and soul. It's the entire
body, soul, mind. Sometimes I find it hard to separate these things, to be honest. Body, mind, soul, thoughts, emotions, higher self. The whole lot of it is saying this has to stop. And that's when you break the diet. It's not a time to beat yourself up. It's a time to rejoice and think, okay, I've stopped the diet, but this time I'm going to take things into my own hands for the first time ever and see. I mean, you owe it to yourself just for once in your life to try it this way. If you've had a lifetime of going on dozens and dozens and dozens of diets, just for once, I think once in your life, try something fundamentally different. And that is to trust your own intuition about what to eat.
Okay. I love the sound of this. And also, can I come and ask you something? Because I find this is very much a part as well of our mentality about food. And as somebody you've written a lovely book called Magic Words.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so much of the words around our, I suppose, guilt about eating, our guilt when we break a diet and go and have a burger or whatever else, going, oh, this is going to kill me. This is terrible. I feel so bad about this. Our guilt when we put a fork into a gorgeous chocolate cake and go, I really shouldn't. This will kill me. This is, that we're actually feeding ourselves more than that food. We're feeding ourselves poison in every forkful, really, because the words we are using is damaging as well as everything else.
Completely. I mean, that book, Magic Words and How to Use Them, which is actually one of my favorite books I've written, I have to say, I thoroughly recommend that one, is all about the power of words and the stories that we tell ourselves, and how the stories we tell have basically become our lives. The stories we tell make up our entire experience of life. And if we're telling a story that this food's going to kill me, I'm such a fat pig, why can't I control myself? Oh, I've been so bad today. Why do I keep putting sugar in my tea? Why can't I control myself? I'm such a fat idiot. These awful things we say to ourselves. Even if we're just saying, oh, I'm having a fat day today. I hear my friends saying this all the time, like, oh, I can't wear those clothes. I'm far too fat at the moment. I think, why you're not? Why? You're not even fat. Why are you even saying this? And we say these things, and these become true for us. So yeah, that's always a big part of anything I'm ever teaching. I'm always very, very careful about telling people to keep an eye on the stories they're telling. The story, because a story that you tell and believe will become true for you every single time. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so maybe we could start today by everybody listening here today and everybody watching this afterwards, that make the first commitment to yourself by deciding not to use that kind of language anymore, calling yourself names, using, deciding that the food, the very food that you're putting into your mouth, even if you've made a choice, it's a gorgeous slice of chocolate cake, enjoy the choice.
Yes.
Somebody has cooked this and they didn't cook it with poison, so it's going to be delicious. And so the experience will do you more good than the negative feeling that you're feeding yourself with
Yeah,
in that
absolutely.
instant.
And
And so,
yeah,
yes,
I was going to say, I have a certain couple of friends actually who do have a real problem with their weight. I haven't quite been able to get through to them yet. And I know that for them, when they're, for example, eating something like a big piece of chocolate cake, because there's such a negative association with this cake, they then eat more. Because the feeling of, oh no, now I've eaten the chocolate cake, I've ruined everything, then leads them to think, oh, well, I might as well just eat the whole thing now. So they go into a binge starts. So they start binging. So, and that's all as a result of this this sort of like big negative judgment we put on top of certain types of food. So if we start eating, we're such a bad person, we then carry on eating to try and get rid of that feeling, and it's just cut that dead. No, you ate a piece of chocolate cake. I mean, crikey, you didn't kill someone. You ate a piece of chocolate cake. It doesn't make you a bad person.
yes, absolutely. Well, can I ask you, are there
Yeah.
other areas of life that someone can look at in order to support this journey? So, for example, would you say to people, look, if you're going to be focusing on your enjoyment of food rather than your disappointment in yourself, or you're standing on the scales and feeling bad about yourself, the focus is going to be on your enjoyment and getting used to your own responses. Do you feel that people then, that has a knock-on effect in other areas of life? Do you sleep better?
Every area,
Yeah.
every area. Every area, Trina, to be honest, because there isn't a single area of life that doesn't work better when we stop, pay attention to the moment, enjoy what's going on, and trust our own intuition. There isn't a single area of life that doesn't get better when you do that. We really are incredible experts, and we have access, as you know, to this. I call it magic. Some people call it God. We have access to this huge source of incredible wisdom that will give us the answers to anything, that will give us guidance and answers and all the right ideas and all the right intuitions. And we just turn up, we just ignore it. We ignore it by going to someone else and taking their advice instead.
Well, as you say, that's learned helplessness, and that is something we've grown up with almost, from almost the very beginning. Particularly our generation. I'm not including everybody here in mine, but in a sense, it is. I mean, yes, I know my mum taught us how to make a good, solid meal, meat and
Yeah,
vegetables, and all of that kind of thing. We had some really good basic learning, understanding. Everything after that became my own exploring and our own enjoyment of food and that kind of thing. So what I'm actually saying is, I wonder, do we go out to farmers markets? Do we explore? Just as an aside, one of the things I did last year, we have a very good meat producer, butcher, not too far from us, and I began to get concerned about the welfare of the
mm.
animals in life, and so I phoned, and without going into detail, this person was able to 100% guarantee me and offer to show me the humane treatment of the animals, and all of the areas. It's free range, and the animals are very humanely treated. And so now when I'm eating my meat, chicken and meat, I'm not taking in that fear for the animal. I have an
Yeah.
appreciation of the nobility. And so what I'm actually asking you is, are there other things that we can explore to support our new appreciation?
Oh, completely. I mean, for example, exactly what you've talked about there, choosing food in a very different way, just becoming really, I hate to use the word because it's overused, more mindful about the entire process of eating. For example, the buying, where you purchase it, what you purchase. If you want to still eat meat, does it matter to you that it's organic? Does it matter to you that the animals were treated humanely? Does it matter to you where it was imported to? And I'm not going to preach about what you should be doing, because your
Yes.
morality is your own business. But if you're very interested in the environment, for example, maybe it really matters to you that you get it locally, you get your food locally. All of these things, suddenly the whole business of food and food production and cooking it and eating it becomes almost like a hobby. It becomes a real fun aspect of your life, something that you put time into, and the whole thing becomes less of a just a quick fix of food, and more of an entire, you know, mind and body experience. As I say, you know, it's just like a body and soul thing going on. That it's, you know, food is we are so lucky in that the food we have access to. Sometimes I think about this. I get just a burst of gratitude sometimes for the sheer fact that we have access to such incredible food. You know, only just 100 years, 200 years ago, people had very, very dull, boring food. That's if they had enough to eat. We don't have these,
We
you know,
don't.
yeah, we
Yeah.
don't appreciate it. We don't, even despite the fact that we have all this incredible food, we don't appreciate it like we should. And when we appreciate it, oh my goodness, the whole thing just becomes so enjoyable that we don't want to stuff our faces with it anymore. We don't want to eat too much because we've had enough. We've had so much fun from the
There's more. It's not as
that
if there's never going to be any more. You can have as much as you. There's more. So when you're on a diet, it's very finite. There's only so much you're supposed to eat, and then you feel when it's gone, oh goodness, I've got to wait 4, 5, 6 more hours before I can have that, or till tomorrow, whatever. Whereas in this way, there's always more. We know how to put it away. We don't have to have that much because we can have more later if we wish. I'm so excited for this because for me, it is a total breath of fresh air. It is a brand new way of looking at the most fundamental thing that we do every single day, apart from perhaps sipping water, which is also very important to us as well. But I know that everybody here is quite excited about that. Do you mind if I go to people and see if there are questions? Does anyone have any questions for Genevieve, or do you want to share your own sort of journey or story, or anything you want to say about within reason about other diets? We won't mention them if you know what I mean, but if anybody has anything.
Yes, I have one question. Hi.
Hi,
I'm
Julian.
just wondering, I don't know, I was just kind of thinking about apps as well, you know, the calorie counting and all that sort of thing. I mean, does that count, or would that not be of one's use to be in any kind of healthy mindfulness, or would you rather, like, maybe in your own opinion, would you say it wouldn't be a good idea, because then you're more likely to focus on it too much, that you begin to lose your own kind of habit to your own health instead?
Very good. So apps and calorie counters and that kind of thing, Genevieve.
Absolutely, Gillian. I mean, calorie counting is just the most arbitrary, nonsensical idea I could possibly imagine. I'm sorry, but I'm very, very against things like calorie counting apps because it completely, for a start, how many calories do you need to? I mean, I'm 5'3". One of my friends is 6 feet tall. I've got little tiny frame. She's enormous. You know, my partner's 5'11". My son's 6'2". What? And yeah, all women should have this many calories a day. All men should have that many calories a day. What does it mean? It's completely arbitrary, and we have different metabolisms. We have, so for a start, we have no idea what would be the right number of calories for the average person, for anyone, not the average person, but for an individual person.
Any person, yeah.
But second, the sheer fact that you are focused on the number, Julian, can you see that completely cuts off your own ability to work out whether you're full, whether you've had enough, whether you even want to eat this stuff or not. Suddenly it becomes about something else, some sort of number, some abstract number of units, that's the right amount I should be eating. So it completely puts the power out of you and somewhere else. Puts it in that app.
Also, just the fact of also maybe even you know, things in your body like your bones, your muscles, nerves, you know, all those sort of things that may actually be then because of the calorie counting, may actually cause either damage to bones or muscle mass or something like that, because we don't know how much we need for each individual, you know, organ in the body. That you know, just because we might be taking care of our health, but like, do we take care of our organs as well?
It's a really good point. It's a really good point. And what I suppose the absolute fundamental premise of this book is that somewhere deep down, your body knows exactly what you should be eating for the absolute optimum health of your mind and your body, your soul, everything. That you're the only one who does know. Somewhere deep down, you know. And that includes the health of things like your organs and your bones. So if, for example, you were lacking something that your bones needed, some vitamin D or some calcium or something, if you were really tuned into your body, you would get a sense of what you needed to eat. Your body would tell you to seek out the calcium or whatever it was. You would start craving something like milk or whatever. That's just an example. And I firmly believe, I mean, it's an absolute principle of this book. And it just seems to me it has to be that way, because otherwise human beings couldn't have evolved. We couldn't have got to where we are now because we didn't have dietitians and calorie counting apps, 100,000 years ago. We've got here by our wits, and we've lost our wits now, and we're now looking at calorie counting apps. So
and they power even more.
It's crazy. So yeah, to have the optimum health for a human being, the only possibility can be that you know that for yourself. It can't be any other way. It doesn't make sense that there could be an expert on that. It just doesn't make any sense to me that somebody else could know that.
Genevieve, we have another question here from Eva Reevely, and she says, I agree. This is an interesting one because it's a particular issue here, I think. I agree with all the mindfulness in food, but are there any legacy issues, such as famine or poverty? If so, any ideas on how to overcome those? And that is this thing we have. A lot of us in Ireland will say, I have a famine impulse, and that is to never leave food on the plate. And it's very much a thing, and that if we eat now, at least we'll be safe. And it's an inherited thing as well, in a sense. It's very much a part of the culture in Ireland. So again, that's another issue. How would we begin to frame? And
I know you and Ireland have a long history. It's with famine. And it wasn't really so long ago for you guys, but even those of us who weren't brought up in Ireland were definitely brought up. I certainly was, and I know a lot of people were brought up with the idea that leaving food on the plate is wrong, fundamentally wrong. It's almost sinful. It's actually a disgusting thing to do. There are literally people starving in the world, and you're leaving food on your plate. And a part of this book is really addressing the messed up idea we have about that, and how. But first of all, I'd point out the fact that if somebody's starving on another part of the world, they aren't helped by you stuffing your face on everything on your plate. They don't get helped by that at all. You putting on weight does not help someone, in the third world who doesn't have enough to eat. And they're sitting there thinking, well, I'm starving, but at least those people over in Ireland are finishing all the food on their plates. It doesn't help them. So what I encourage you to do to get over this idea of, you see, if we put food on our plate and we put too much on the plate, there's an enormous compulsion for us to finish that. And that's a big part of why some of us overeat, because we just can't stand to waste the food. And I know this so strongly. I know that feeling of, this food was expensive and it's delicious, I can't waste it. And what I encourage you to do on this plan is to actually begin wasting food. And the reasoning behind that is that by allowing yourself to waste food, don't have to do it for very long, you come to properly learn how much to put on your plate. And until you waste food, you don't learn that. But by allowing yourself to waste food, realizing how much you truly need, you actually start to put less on the plate. Then you start cooking less. Then you start buying less, and there's way less waste all round. So, yeah, that was a big one for me to overcome, I have to say, and it's very, very, very common with a lot of people.
And it doesn't have to be, I mean, waste, okay, but I mean, we all have little plastic tubs we can stick in the freezer if we've got too much. And in our house, we actually have a kind of a freezer day when we go through all the bits we've left over,
Ah,
and just, make a tasty meal out of that, because it means that it's one day when I don't have to cook, apart
yeah.
from anything else, although I quite enjoy that. I love what you're saying. And one of the other things is, let's remember when I was a girl, our dinner plates were the size of our side plates today, and so we do look, I've got enormous plates, and if you put in it what the evening portion is for our evening meal, it looks tiny in the middle of them.
Yeah.
So I mean, if people have concerns, I often think just get smaller plates, or
Yeah.
just see how you get on with that. And maybe experiment and explore. And that, Genevieve, we're actually coming to the end of our time, and I'm absolutely loving talking to you. And I just wonder how, so we know that people can contact you with on the becomingmagic.com website, and
Yes.
go there and explore. There's so much to look at. Genevieve has wonderful programs, and there's a particular one that really interests me, and that is coming up in January. It's a 30-day program, is it?
It's actually about 5 weeks. I call it the Miracle Month. It's an advanced program. It's my advanced manifestation program. I ran it a couple of months ago, just for 100. So it's a limited number of people. It's not very expensive. I don't charge very much for any of my programs, but it's an advanced program, and I didn't really expect to have the response I had, which was just incredible. People have absolutely adored it. So there is a wait list at the moment, and I will when I launch it in I think probably another month's time, I'll give it to the wait list. I'll show it to the wait list first, and let whoever wants to sign up join then. But if you're interested in an advanced manifestation course with me in January, then please put your name on that wait list. But you find all these details on the same website. Everything's on the website, basically.
Including your magic, the Academy of Magic as well.
Academy of Magic, which is my monthly membership program. So you can, have Q&As with me every month, and learn it's basically an entire year's worth of teaching there, but set up as a membership. So you pay monthly. And
we have another question, another comment from Lorraine. Lorraine, thank you for that. The food industry is feeding off our comfort eating. All right, you are.
yeah.
From marketing to damaging additives. Why is eating out not supporting us? I have ended up paying a lot for extra green vegetables. The human greed to make money continues to damage our health mentally, physically, psychologically, and emotionally. That's a great
Nothing to add to that, Lorraine, but I agree with everything you've said there.
Yes, and Lorraine says thank you. I agree. Thank you for empowering me. Thank you, Lorraine, for those comments. Eva says thanks for this, Genevieve. I will be sure to bring some magic back to mealtimes. Oh, lovely. Do you know what? I mean, magical mealtimes. How about that? Imagine having one magical mealtime a day. Never mind the opportunity for 3 of them, and lots of snacks. I mean, I quite enjoy my cup of coffee with a square or 2 of really good quality dark chocolate, and I do. That's non-negotiable for me. I have to have dark chocolate with
absolutely.
I love it.
Why not? Why not?
Yeah. Genevieve, just before we go, there's something we always do, and I hope you don't mind if we go ahead with it. Just before we take our leave with you, we draw 3 oracle cards, and I've pre-done that today for people, and so anybody with us or anybody watching chooses 1, 2, or 3, and then we go through the cards. And today's cards, Kyle Gray's Angels and Ancestors, and the first card is the Shalem Master. Be graceful in movement and action. Can everybody see that? Is that visible? Because I can't see for myself. Hang on a second. Yes, I can. Be graceful in movement and action. And that's, don't feel the need to rush. Take a gentler approach. Take more time to soften and breathe before you move forward. Quite a nice one for November as well. Kind of restful and peaceful. But there is more power in your gentle movements than there are in your rather more kind of solid movements. So maybe take time with that. That's card number 1. Whoever picked card number 2, we're the Stag. Trust and thrive. Trust and thrive. Be proud of who you are and all you have accomplished. Trust in all you have to offer, your gifts, strengths and power, and make the most of it. This is your time to thrive. How lovely is that? Nice one for anyone who picked number 2. And number 3, this is one of my all-time favorites. This is Father Sky. Trust in the unknown. Very good one when it comes to magic. This is a time to step back and get out of your own way. There's a greater power at work for you at this time, and in creating the best experience imaginable for you. Accept them, for the miracles are coming forward. How about that?
Nice, I like that one.
Coming forward. Anyone who picked number 3, you've got miracles coming. Listen, we've all got miracles coming forward now, thanks to Genevieve. And she taught so much to us today. I'm so grateful to you. I know we all are. And looking forward to seeing so much more from you. But thank you for this beautiful book.
Thank you for inviting me, Trina. It's been an absolute joy. Absolutely lovely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Genevieve. And hope to see you soon. Good luck, everybody. Thanks so much for being here today and joining us early. It's been so good of you. See you very soon. Thanks.
Bye. Bye.